Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Ultimate Communication. What is ultimate communication? Well, it's exchanging ideas, thoughts, understanding, receiving, and listening. For instance, you have two lawyers, one a prosecuting attorney, one a defendant attorney. The defendant attorney begins by saying, listen, my client was not at the scene of the crime because he was at home and everybody can verify those cases. Aha! No, says the prosecuting attorney. He was too there. His name is Mr. Guilty and he's also the butler. Dun dun dun. The butler always does the crime. Well, the good part about that is that there are rules. Well, the good part about that is also governed by a magistrate, which is a judge, and sometimes a jury that decides on the argument of both cases. The good part about that, well, in a personal conversation, we have rules as well too. Hi, welcome to Thoughts with Theo. I'm your host, Downtown Theo Brown. Always talking a little jab, always bring you right back to the right vibe. And today we're talking about ultimate communication, the 5 effective ways of communicating. Rule number 1, you must have tone. Number 2, verbal. Number 3, non-verbal. Number 4, emotional. Number 5, listening. Let's go talk about tone. Well, tone is very important. Anything over 15 decimals is considered bad for the listening ear. Honest to goodness, it is. For instance, take out the garbage. That's a tone. Let's cut that up some. Take out the garbage. Now, which tone did you prefer? The first tone works. And I've never ever heard anybody with a loud pitch get anything resolved. Well, maybe in a football practice, something like that, when you hear the coach, get out there, guys. I want you to do those things right away. Hike, hike, hike. You know, those are the only time I've ever heard somebody with a loud tone and it be effective. Well, the next one is verbal. Well, verbal is, your conversation. It could be face to face. It could be any kind of conversation that you have and stuff when you haven't communicated, but you understand also the tone and the rules. Nonverbal is when you're moving, when you're moving out the way, you're giving somebody your body language, like you don't really want to be there and stuff. You're sitting there, you're pouting, you're not saying anything, the person's trying to talk to you. Well, that's nonverbal as well, too. Now, emotionally in control of your conversation. That's a very tricky one. Well, you're going to have a conversation. You have to understand some of the rules. We talked about verbal, we talked about nonverbal, and you have to be in control of your conversation. You have to understand your tone. You have to keep your tone in such a place where the person is understanding and listening. Number 5, very, very important. Have to listen to what it is that somebody is saying and understand what it is you're trying to say to that person and stuff. It's also good that we're receiving these things, and understanding is very important as well, too, when you're having a conversation. Well, now, what are the rules when people have a conversation that are not attorneys? Well, there's rules as well, too. Well, one of the rules is what comes up doesn't necessarily have to come out. What that means is, what you think sometimes you better not say it because this might be the last time you get a chance to interact with that person if you say the wrong thing. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, that we always have to be right and not get along. Honestly, do we always have to be right and not get along? Is it better to be right and not get along? We have to ask yourself that question all the time. Yeah, okay, you won the conversation, and but the other person is feeling a certain kind of way. The other person is feeling bad, feeling miserable. You won. Did you really win? Let's talk about winners. Well, what happens when you win anything? When you win anything, you have one person. One person is the winner, and the other person is feeling bad. One person is standing alone. One person is celebrated. One person has everything that goes along with being a winner. So really, when you're having a conversation, exchanging ideas, and communicating, understanding, and listening, and you have a winner, well, that's a bad thing. We have to understand that it takes 2 for a conversation, and there really are no real winners and stuff. But you understand also, last rule, do not go for the juggler. What does that mean? The juggler, meaning do not go to take your opponent out unless that's just what you want to do. For instance, like you're talking to your wife and you're telling them, look, we all know who your mama is. We all know your mama. We all know your mama is your daddy because he got a mustache. Those kind of things you can't say. You can't say those kind of things because they're harmful, they're dreadful, and some of these times, some of these things you can never take back. So be understanding and cautious of what it is you say and how it is that you say it and what you're trying to say. Well, understanding about communication and stuff, well, you need to understand a few things too. What is it that you want to accomplish? I've never seen anybody change anybody's mind in a conversation or in a communication. And what is effective communication? When you are exchanging ideas, when you are understanding, when you are listening, when you do have tone. And if you forget all those things and those things change, then it becomes a conversation. For instance, I want to say, listen, I'd like to say, I want to go across the street to the store and get an apple. Now you have something called a derailment. The derailment is people that's going to cut you off in conversation. Well, I'd like to go across the stop it. I don't want to hear that. And they continue cutting you off, and you continue. I want to go to the store. I don't want to hear that. I want to talk about something else. And the derail person will always continue to derail you and stop you from communicating and exchanging your ideas. Now, what happens is, and why that person always trying to derail you is because they don't want to hear what it is that you have to say. You may be a very powerful person in conveying your ideas, but the most important thing that the person doesn't understand that derails my conversation and exchanging my ideas is that it never goes away. But see, that idea of me trying to go to the store to get an apple never goes away, but it goes into a storage box, and I keep it there. And next time we have a conversation, I try to say something again. Well, this time I want to not only go to the store, but also want to go down to my friend's house as well to pick them up. And I'm trying to convey that idea, and that person continues to cut me off. Again, they didn't hear what I have to say. So now I have exchanging of ideas. Number 2, put in my storage box. So what happens is, somewhere down the road, all these things come out, like a machine gun. And I come out there and say, look, I want to go to the store. I want to take my friend to the store. And you're asking yourself like, whoa, where all this come from? Well, it came from the fact that I tried to communicate with you these 2 ideas a long time ago, but you kept derailing those things from me. So that's person number 1. And then there's the notorious person number 2. The one is always, you do it, and I'm talking about, I walk down the street and you always fall down. And so, well, you fall down too. Every time I say something to them, it's always me too. They never want to accept the responsibility for themselves. It's always going to be, well, you do it too. You do it too. That's another person again. Don't want to hear what it is that I have to say, and they continue to cut you off again and tell you, hey, you do it too as well too. And then there's the Monday morning quarterback. Well, if anybody knows about football, there's most football is played on Sunday, and Monday morning the analysts talk. Well, it's easy to talk about something that's already happened, and just like in communication, what just happened between the 2 of us? Well, they come and say, listen, well, you could have said it this way. You could have said it that way. You could have told me to go over there, please, or you could have told me to go over there and wait for you, but in a nicer tone. Now, they've analyzed every single thing you said. This is after the fact. So easy to do this. It's so many different ways that if you had said that and did it the way they claim, they would have come up with something else. So Monday morning quarterback is somebody that's analyzing everything you just did and said and telling you could have did it another way, which no way. You're never going to be able to satisfy the Monday morning quarterback because they always will have a rebuttal. And most of the times, when you look at any kind of conversation, it's infinite. Infinite. That means it goes on and on. You always find something. Okay, I was talking in a different tone. Well, you didn't have to point your finger at me. There's something always they're going to find. So these people are always going to try to derail you from the conversation, to overtalk you in the conversation, and analyze you over what it is you're trying to say. Now, when you go into a conversation with a person, maybe a coworker or maybe a leader, well, the rules still apply. We still have to understand what it is we need to do. We need to have tone. We need to have understanding. We need to have verbal, nonverbal. We need to have the emotional control. But you want to understand what is it that you're trying to achieve when you go into that room. Well, if you want to go in there to piss that person off and turn them 3 shades of red, then you go in there. You raise your tone. You go in there. You don't listen to anything they say. You don't receive anything they want to say. And you go there, and that's the goals you're trying to achieve. Honestly, there is nothing wrong with that, but you need to understand what is it that you're trying to achieve. If you know your back is against the wall, you're there because you got bad attendance, and you know good as well, there's nothing really you can say about it because it's a technical thing. They got you red-handed coming in late every single day through the cameras, then yeah, you want to go in there and piss off the balls and get a good feel for it, that's fine. And this is called venting, Venting necessarily is just you saying a whole lot of things, you're talking to the top of your voice, and you're feeling a certain kind of way about this whole entire thing because you are venting. You're frustrated, you're emotionally in control of these things, but you don't want any other resolution. You don't want to hear anything anybody has to say. And that's fine if you understand what it is you do. Sometimes people vent and they don't know. But a lot of times guys find themselves in that situation of trying to run toward their spouse, their loved ones, their girlfriends, and try to say, listen, baby, what's wrong? Let's talk about it. And I don't want to talk about it. You did this over and over again. We had this conversation and stuff, and they're going to continue telling you over and over again about what it is that you did wrong, and there's no resolution other than the fact that it just has to play out like a record until the end, and it gets tired and old, and it finally ends. That's how venting a frustration and a conversation continues. So understand that's perfectly okay too. But again, understand what it is you're trying to do. And I've never ever seen anybody change anybody's mind about a conversation. It just doesn't happen and stuff. I mean, a person has to be very witty, very intellectual, and really open-minded for you to change their mind about a conversation. And it does happen. It does happen. But if you're trying to change somebody's mind about your opinion, remember the other person has an opinion too, and they're trying to change your mind as well too. So you guys may agree to disagree. That's always a viable option as well too, because it's very hard to change somebody's mind about their opinion about how they feel about a certain thing. And even if you say sometimes that I agree, even then the person is not willing to accept that right away, because they are under the cognition that, hey, listen, I want to continue this conversation. It wasn't supposed to end this way. I want to vent a little bit. I want to take my tone up a little bit. I want to be non-verbal. I want to be verbal. I want to be in your face. I want to listen to you. I want you to understand. I want to be in control of all the emotion. And those are all the things that ultimate communication is all about. And remember, nobody wins in any conversation, because remember, a winner is like a dictator. It's all by themselves. How could you possibly win and the other person's feeling bad, you know? And how many times can you continue to win? Oh, I won that conversation. Oh yeah, I won that conversation. But then the other person's feeling bad. You know, that's what a winner is. A winner is somebody by themselves, is doing things by themselves. And it's a very selfish move to think that you won a conversation or an argument between somebody you care about. You know, because you leave that person that you beat, as you say, the winner, feeling a certain kind of way. And that's never good for any of us. So let's understand that we have to know that there are no winners in conversation. And if we do have effective communication, it has to be the understanding of both of us exchanging ideas, understanding, listening, and receiving each other's thoughts and process. This is your main man, Downtown Theo Brown. Always talking a little jive, always bring you right back to the right vibe. My business is love and happiness, and my business is quite good. Until next time. This is Downtown Theo Brown. I will see you later. Thank you.